How are you doing, Kun Karndee?
Well, I'm coping pretty well. It's quite challenging for a mom working at home and also 2 kids studying at home as well, and that's more challenging.
Okay.
Yes.
So you mean you have been confined to your home because of this coronavirus crisis? Is that the reason?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes. We took a very early precaution since mid-March. We work a lot with our partner overseas, so we take that precaution seriously, and we've been quarantined ourselves since then. Also, I have our family members came back from United States, and we have to be right here.
Yes, and for FutureTales to be predicting new trend must be really job of FutureTales to predict what will be coming out next after COVID-19. Is that very unprecedented to you?
I will have to say, yeah, it's totally unexpected. We've been doing the future foresight for quite some time. We as a developer, it's our job to look into the futures at least 30 years ahead, 2 generations ahead, in order to build the right project and make sure the city we build actually answer the need for the future. But now come down to pandemics here, I have to say that a lot of our studies in the past will have to be revised and reviewed, and also a lot of technology developments that we expect to happen in the next 5 years, 10 years, has been accelerated. It's actually happening now.
Now you have come up with 10 trends that you describe as the next normal, but of course you don't have time for you to describe all the 10 trends, right? But can you summarize some of the important trends that you call the next normal that you think we emerge from the post COVID crisis?
If I'm going to collapse down those 10 trends, I see 3 groups working together. Is one, we're going to see the social structures will be very different from now. The beliefs of the privacy, the beliefs of the safety and health would come first. And we could predict to see the way that we could work together, not just within the country, but also in the regions, to make sure the well-being of the citizens. We also see the culture that will move towards a touchless society. So that's what we worry about. We see into the future that would impact the culture, the way we interact in the societies much more in the future, where we can't really be close together, we can't hug and shake hands, and so other culture will emerge. So that's one thing. Second is how we prioritize between space and convenience. We can see that in the past, even today, a lot of people will try to crunch into the cities, will try to take advantage of being close to the workplace. But now we have work from home. A lot of people experience that. Some of those companies have the staff work from home for 100%. So we see that we don't really need to crunch in and get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, every day. We can still work as the same productivity as before. So we see that the concept, the formulations of the buildings of the society would shift. Something that far away from the cities, but somehow can achieve the same needs will be very likely. And the next one, the third one, is globalizations and how that impact the supply chains. I taught supply chain before, and we talked about this as globalizations. We produce here, we assemble there, and we're going to export to the other place. The sensitivities, of the transportations with the health issues here would teach us something that we need to redesign and can't be really entirely depend on the global supply chain of that much. So I would see the supply chain will be shorter, regional supply chain, as well as in the micro sense and micro levels, we see the logistics system cover up over the globe. Therefore, we're going to see the trend that the logistics system will cover the last mile logistic, and the next hour delivery will be the key. And the third and the last one, the fourth one, is how we're going to work together with our neighbor, especially in Southeast Asia, and ASEAN countries. We've been talking a lot about the free flow of service and goods. We don't talk much about the free flow of data. But now COVID is much like a regional haze problem where it's a cross-border. One country cannot just act alone. We need collective actions altogether. So I'm long to see that the Southeast Asian region will work together and will fight COVID together. And that means how we share the data across the border. We talk about the free flow of data coming in.
Is the future beyond expectation of anyone, Ajahn Karndee? And what do you think Thailand can extend from the existing capital that we have, like human capital, social capital, or the resources that Thailand can have? What can we do more in order to cope with the next normal?
The good things that Thailand is really having stem around the agriculture industries, even though that we need to bump up in terms of technology as fast as possible. But that could be the strong point in this type of crisis and pandemic. In Thailand right now, I know that it's really hard, it's very difficult in terms of economy for a lot of people around here. But in order to help those people, in order to the government to lay its hands on it, I think I would like to see more a long-term impact. Now is a crisis that never before in our generation could see. Disruptions happening at the same times. So we see that it is very possible that once after this crisis, a lot of job that we used to do is not going to be there anymore. The technology disruptions come faster than we ever thought. And then this time around is the best time to reskill a lot of jobs positions. And that I would like to support not just the company at large, but also the government policy that would like to inject and change and take this, take advantage of this crisis as well and move our country to the next leap. It sounds easy, but it has to be done somewhere.
Now let's talk about
it's not easy,
okay.
But it does have to start somewhere.
Okay, so let's talk about the working from home trend you just mentioned. So you don't think this new work habit, which is born out of necessity, is not just temporary thing, but it's going to be something long lasting and something that will change permanently, right?
The work from home has been the trend for so long. It's actually confined with the rule and regulations and partly from the generations in our organizations. A lot of that we have the technology or the coverage of Wi-Fi internet is out there. People would prefer to work from home. So I see this is the trends that yes, well, it's not going to be like this 100%, but I can see the trends that we're going to have more like a flexible hours and you can come to the office voluntary basis as long as the work productivity can stand at the same way that the company expected. So we see more like a compromising in this and also the support in different way to work from homes. Because you see, it's not just productivities that we have, but also, and the pollutions at large in the cities is much less. So it's something that we need to rethinking. And I'm sure a lot of, the private sectors are actually looking at this. I myself, working as a board, the board of the EDDA, where we also just launched the new law that you can work online and can, you can cast the vote online, and that's become legal and accepted.
I see.
And when we look at the whole region, Dr. Karndee, what do you think Thailand can take this opportunity to utilize or to take more benefit from supply chain in the whole region of Southeast Asia?
By the location, I think we have the strong point and very positive there. But now it's not just about manufacturing factors that we have, hold on for so long. It's all clear that right now our healthcare system has been appreciated by a lot of countries, especially in those huge country like United States and Germany. That's something that we can leverage our strength. Supply chain, on the other hand, I think that it's just the time that we need to revamp and modernize it as much as we possibly can, because still, part of what we do is actually try to leverage of the strength of our countries and make it much better.
Does any of the trends you just mentioned can be related to the issue of political mindset, in the sense that people may have more expectation of for the political leadership in the future, because this crisis has certainly taught people a lot of lessons as far as the political leadership is concerned. So do you think that there will be this trend will somehow, help people, develop some kind of a more expectation about their politicians?
I think in the terms of the crisis management and crisis communications per se has been talked so much in the past, in the recent months. So yes, we put more expectation, and yes, our politicians and our leaders will have to learn on this. And yes, we as a citizen, we are part of this. Right or wrong, up or down, we are part of it too. I would say not just politicians on the political side would learn on this, but me, myself, and a lot of people around here will have to learn about the civic responsibility, because it's not just the leadership decision, it's all about us playing all the games all together.
Yeah.
I think our citizens would learn something as well.
Ajahn Karndee, you also mentioned that before you focus a lot on globalization. Are we going to have globalization as we know it after COVID-19? What's your take?
I don't think it's going to disrupt, the supply chain will just disrupt. Globalization is not going to happen. But I see the trends of each country will try to be sustainable as much as possible and try to be self-sufficient as much as possible, rather than relying on the global supply chain or globalizations. It's actually contradicts with the concept that we had before. We do what we can do best, and the rest will ask someone else to do it. But now, hey, we need to be able to self-sustain whatever it happens. I would see self-sufficiency, sustainability will become the key. That will be something that counterpart from the globalization and the global supply chain.
Does it mean that we shouldn't think of or shouldn't worry too much about economic growth of GDP, like 5, 6, 7%, and we should be more moderate? Shall we say that?
Well, I think it's kind of different though. I kind of more see on the supply side that we would try to be self-sustained, but doesn't mean that we're going to close down the country or don't do the trade and international trade at all. But it is to try to balance it. And see that this is going to be the lesson learned, that we need to balance out how we can sustain ourselves in such a crisis in time. Yes, GDP I think is still important, although GDP itself doesn't say everything about the wealth of the nations. There's a lot of other issues like equality, how we can access to the opportunity equally, for example, the educations, healthcare, and the wealth behind it. So I think that's something that was still there, but somehow portfolio of the countries will have to be revisited.